Many years ago in the village of Ezawel, there lived a very beautiful princess named Ugoma. She was the daughter of King Maduka and Queen Adaora. Princess Ugoma was not only beautiful outwards, her inner qualities even outshined the outer ones. She was known as the apple of her father's eyes and the morning star of the people of Ezawel. Her smile was so contagious that it could make anyone forget about their sorrows. From childhood, Princess Ugoma had a best friend named Ebere. Ebere was the daughter of Queen Adaora's best friend, and so it was no surprise that the two little girls soon stuck together. Whenever Ebere's mother went to visit Queen Adaora at the palace, Ebere went with her and she became drawn to Princess Ugoma's lively personality. And ever since then they've stuck together. Ebere's mother was a single mother, and after she died, Ebere was helpless and alone. Princess Ugoma begged her father to allow Ebere live with them in the palace. The king granted his daughter's wish, and that was how Ebere started living in the palace. Princess Ugoma never made her feel like she was not from royal blood. She would share all her belongings with Ebere and told her maids to also attend to Ebere. However, in spite of being accepted into the royal household, it was very easy to know that Ebere was not royalty. Whenever Princess Ugoma and Ebere walked around the village, the princess naturally outshined Ebere. The princess's beauty, her radiant smile topped with her lively and joyful spirits always enchanted the people to her. They would stop to greet the princess and hear something pleasant from her without taking notice of Ebere's presence. As they grew into young ladies, the young men in the village soon started to admire the princess. Whenever they saw her walk by, they would stop to compliment her, and she in return would bless them with her lovely smile. These men barely took notice of Ebere, who was always with the princess. It was as if Princess Ugoma always used a spell to hold their attention. Although Princess Ugoma was innocently replying to those young men, the other maidens in the village did not think so, as they felt threatened by the princess. Something disturbing happened one day that set all hell loose on the princess. She was approached by a wealthy young man who had just visited the village. The man had seen her the previous day and was immediately captivated by her beauty and personality. He immediately decided to marry her. He walked up to the princess and greeted her. He wasted no time in telling her his intentions. "It is an honor to be in your presence, dear princess. You are far beyond every other woman in your grade. I will be the most happiest man if you would grant me the honor of being your husband." Princess Ugoma was surprised. She was just seeing this man for the first time, and yet he had the courage to propose marriage to her. She was impressed by his courage and smiled at him. The young man continued, "I am Ifeanyichukwu. I came from the neighboring village, and I must confess that I have not seen a princess who is this gorgeous and yet down to earth like you. Please, what is your name?" "Ugoma," the princess replied him. Ifeanyichukwu then went on to tell her that he would love to change her name to Ugochukwu. The princess smiled and told him that he sure had a flattering tongue and a truckload of courage. As they went home that evening, Princess Ugoma asked Ebere what she thought about Ifeanyichukwu. Ebere told her, "I think he is a brave man. He knows what he wants and is brave to go for it. So would you be considering his proposal?" The princess smiled and told Ebere, "Let's see how it goes." Ifeanyichukwu and Princess Ugoma started to see themselves more often, and the princess was beginning to like Ifeanyichukwu. Then one day, Princess Ugoma and Ebere were walking along the village paths as usual when four young ladies approached them angrily. One of them called Princess Ugoma husband snatcher. The princess and Ebere were shocked and looked around them to be sure it was not them these ladies were up against. The same lady spoke again. "Princess, or whatever you are called, you can deceive others with your devilish smile, but you can't deceive us. How dare you seduce my husband to be and snatch him away from me?" The princess was confused and Ebere wanted to confront the angry lady, but the princess told her to calm down. Princess Ugoma then asked the angry lady, "I am confused here. Can you please tell me exactly who the husband I snatched from you is?" The other three ladies laughed mockingly at the princess, and then one of them said, "You pretender. Don't you know Ifeanyichukwu is her husband-to-be?" Princess Ugoma was shocked. "Ifeanyichukwu, your husband-to-be? He never told me he had a woman he intends to get married to. I didn't know." Before the princess could prove her innocence, the angry young lady cut her off sharply. "Enough is enough. Your cup is full in this village. You can no longer continue taking all the young men away from us. You might do it to others and go scot-free, but not with me. If Ifeanyichukwu does not marry me, then I will hold you responsible for it. I promise you, you won't get away with this." The lady thundered and walked away with her friends. Ebere was very angry. "Why didn't you allow me to give that rude girl a piece of my mind? Who does she think she is to come before you and say all those vile things? She even threatened you." The princess looked at Ebere and shook her head. "Being calm was the best response we could give to them. Would you have preferred we engage them in a fight? And then when people ask what we were fighting for, we would say it was because of a man?" That would have been the most shameful thing ever. I would never fight for a man. Iberi seemed to agree with the princess, and she asked her what she intends to do concerning Ifeanichukwu. The princess replied, I don't know, but I have to first hear his explanation. The next time Princess Ugoma and Ifeanichukwu met, the princess had a gloomy look on her face. Ifeanichukwu was worried and asked the princess what the problem was. The princess asked him straight up, were you going to marry someone else before you met me? Ifeanichukwu was shocked at her question, but he had to open up to her. I had met a girl earlier and we got talking, but I haven't gone to see her parents with any drink yet. Princess Ugoma was pissed. Ifeanichukwu, that's being shady. Since you know you were talking to another woman, you shouldn't have approached me. Now all thanks to you I got harassed by your wife-to-be. Ifeanichukwu was shocked. What? What happened? Did she hurt you? Princess Ugoma cut him off and said, none of these are important now. The deed has been done, but please, I want you to respect my decision. I can't have anything to do with you again. Just go and meet your woman and make amends with her, she said, and left. Ifeanichukwu stood there looking at her shocked as she left. Did she just break up with him? No, that's not possible. He was angry and immediately went to confront the other lady. Ifeoma, Ifeoma, where are you? Come out here. Ifeoma was inside the house alone when she heard a familiar voice screaming her name. She came out and was shocked to see Ifeanichukwu, fuming with anger at her. Ifeoma, how dare you? Who gave you the audacity to harass Princess Ugoma? Ifeoma understood the reason for his anger, but she couldn't bear to lose him, so she begged him. Please, Ifeoma, Dao, I was just jealous. I didn't mean any harm. Please forgive me. You were no longer coming to visit me, and so I felt it was because of her. Ifeanichukwu was not interested in any of her explanations, and he told her, you have achieved your aim, right? The princess has broken up with me. Ifeoma smiled secretly when she heard this, but her face soon changed when she heard his next words. But newsflash, it is over between me and you. I would never mind a woman like you. Ifeanichukwu thundered and walked away. Ifeoma could not bear it, and so she ran after Ifeanichukwu begging and crying, but Ifeanichukwu did not turn back. Neither did he return to their village again. Ifeoma was heartbroken and continued to blame Princess Ugoma for it. She swore to never forgive her. Princess Ugoma continued with her life, and she soon attracted the attention of a prince from a neighboring village. She was hesitant at first to accept the prince, but after studying him and getting to know him better, she opened up and agreed to be in a relationship with him. This prince's name was Odanakachukwu, and he was the heir to his father's throne. The prince and the princess were so much in love and were already making plans to get married. Prince Odanakachukwu invited Princess Ugoma to his father's palace. He had boasted so much about her beauty in the presence of his friends, and they were all eager to meet this beauty personified. Princess Ugoma honored the invitation, and she was warmly received by Prince Odanakachukwu in his own chambers in the palace. His friends, who were already waiting for her, were held spellbound by her beauty. Immediately they saw her. They smiled and winked at the prince and went on to compliment her. The prince had planned for a royal banquet, and very soon the table was set by the palace attendants. They were all eating and chatting happily when all of a sudden a bad fart smell filled the banquet room. This smell was so strong, like that of rotten eggs, that everyone had to stop eating and seize their breaths. They all looked at each other to be sure their noses were not deceiving them. There was a weird feeling in the room afterwards as everyone became cautious. The smell faded away and they started eating again. Suddenly another fart exploded. This time it was not silent, and it came from the direction Princess Ugoma sat. The only people in the room were Prince Odanakachukwu, his friends, and Princess Ugoma, and so it was certain that if it came from her direction, then she was the one who released it. All eyes fell on the princess, and her heart started to beat faster. When the first fart escaped, she was shocked as she did not expect it. She was, however, grateful that it was silent, and so no one knew she was the one who did it. But this second one was loud, and there was no way she could hide from the responsibility. To make matters worse, the smell of this second one was like triple of the first one, and no matter how they tried to hold their breath, the smell just stuck to their noses. Prince Odanakachukwu was also very embarrassed. This was the first time his friends were meeting his fiancée, and the best present she could give them was her smelling farts. How come he hadn't noticed this before about her? His friends could not tolerate it this time, and so they stylishly excused themselves from the banquet and left, leaving only the prince and princess in the awkward situation. Prince Odanakachukwu was very angry, and he shouted at the princess, "What was the meaning of what just happened? Why would you choose to embarrass me in front of my friends like that? You could not even excuse yourself." Princess Ugoma was really ashamed of herself. She could not even look the prince in his face. She apologized to him. "I am really sorry. I did not know why this would happen to me today of all days. It must be something I ate earlier. I am deeply sorry," she said, and ran out of the palace. On her way, she met the prince's friends, who had told the prince that they had an important business meeting to attend to. Obviously they had left because of her and were just standing there laughing about it. As soon as they saw her, they became silent and looked at her in an awkward manner. Princess Ugoma was too ashamed to look at them, and so she ran even faster to her village. When she got to the palace, Ebero was already waiting for her to hear how the meeting went. But she was shocked to see the princess running as if she was ashamed and trying to hide from someone. She went to meet the princess immediately and calmed her down, and then they went into the room. Ebero was curious and she asked the princess what happened. When the princess told her, Ebero laughed so hard, and then she looked at the princess thinking she was just joking. She soon became serious when she saw that the princess was not laughing. "Princess, are you serious? How come? What happened?" Princess Ugoma started crying and could not say anything. Ebera felt really bad for her and hugged her. "It's okay. I believe the prince will understand that it's not your fault and will come around soon." Prince Odnakachukwu later came to visit Princess Ugoma to reconcile with her. Princess Ugoma was still ashamed and continued to apologize, but the prince assured her that it was okay, and he was no longer angry. He hugged her and stroked her hair. As he was hugging her, Princess Ugoma released a loud fart unexpectedly. Prince Odnakachukwu immediately pushed her away and held his nose. He looked at her with fury in his eyes. Princess Ugoma, who was taken aback, also looked scared and stood back from him. She was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say to the prince. The prince was filled with regret. He should have just forgotten about her after the incident at the banquet. Truly, it was a dirty character of hers, and he would never marry a woman like that. He spat out his long-held breath and walked away from Princess Ugoma. She tried to run after him to beg him, but he threatened her to never show up in his presence again. Princess Ugoma was really heartbroken. What kind of bad luck was this? She was cultured enough to not be releasing fart in public. Why did it suddenly start happening now? Ebere assured her not to be too worried and see everything that happened to her to be for good. Who knows, maybe if you had married Prince Odinakachukwu, you would regret it. What kind of man even breaks up with a woman he claims to love just because she farts loudly? Ebere then told Princess Ugoma that they should go and visit the herbalist to know if there was any herbs that could cure the uncontrollable farts. They went to see the herbalist, and he gave the princess some herbs to drink. He also told her to avoid some foods so that her stomach could reset. She went back home and did as she was told, and she seemed to get better. Princess Ugoma returned to her lively way of life. She would take her long walks around the village, and when the villagers passed by, she would greet them with her warm smile. However, something strange started to happen. Whenever any man walked up to the princess to talk with her, she would unconsciously release a loud fart that smelled worse than a rotten egg mixed with rotten beans. The man would not be able to condone the unbearable smell and would run away from her, closing his nose. This happened not once, not twice, but several times. And that was when Princess Ugoma knew that there was a problem. She noticed that it was only when she was talking with men that this fart scandal happened, and not when she was with a fellow woman. At this time, news had already spread around the village that the princess had a loose anus. People started to spread the news all over, and they mocked her, calling her the smelly fart princess. Those who were happy at this news were those young women in the village whose fiancés had once compared them to the princess or abandoned them because of the princess. One of such ladies was Ifioma, who had lost her husband-to-be because of the princess. When she heard of the news, she was very happy and could not wait to mock her face to face. She met the princess one day and screamed at her, "Smelly fart princess! Rotten egg princess! Why are you running away now? You think it is by being beautiful and attracting all the men to yourself? Of what use is your beauty now? Who would want to be with a smelly woman like you?" Ifioma asked and laughed at the princess mockingly. Princess Ugoma felt humiliated and hurriedly went back home. In the midst of all these things, King Maduka and Queen Adawara were really worried. They had never seen anything like this before, and were sad that their precious princess was going through this ugly situation. They gave her all the support she needed and helped her in selecting her diet, hoping that one day it would come to an end. Ebi had met a very rich man who was going to marry her. She told her friend the princess, who was happy for her, and gave her support. Ebi had been a very supportive friend to the princess, and she was sensitive to the princess's feelings also. She assured the princess that all her troubles would soon be over and she would meet the right man who would love her for who she was regardless of anything. The princess smiled at her and they hugged each other. While all the men in the village avoided and scorned the princess, there was a particular man named Odinaka who felt really concerned for her. He had known the princess to be a sweet soul and believed that if at all she was going through this, she deserved all the support she could get. He approached the princess and told her that he would like to be friends with her. As he was talking, the princess released a loud fart and felt embarrassed. She apologized to him, but he said it was okay, and he understood her situation. She was surprised to see that there was a man in the village who was not repelled by her smell. They soon became friends, and Odinaka supported the princess and never made her feel bad about herself. Ebere was happy that the princess was happy again. I told you that you would see a man who will accept you regardless of your situation. All hope is not lost. Ebere would soon be getting married in 1 week's time, and King Maduka and Queen Adawara would be standing in as her parents. The princess also had pledged her support for her. One day, Odinaka came and told the princess that he wanted to take her somewhere. She followed him and was surprised when he took her to an old woman in a distant village. Odinaka introduced the old woman as his maternal grandmother. She was a seer, and when Odinaka had told her about the princess's situation, she told him to bring the princess to her. As Odinaka's grandmother told Princess Ugoma to draw closer, she told her to open her palms. She looked at Princess Ugoma's left palm and shook her head. She then looked at her right palm and sighed sadly. Nai then told them that if she had seen a dark cloud on her left palm, it meant that the person that inflicted her with this shameful curse was somebody far from her, but rather she saw a dark cloud on her right palm, which means that it was a close person that did this to her. The enemy was within. Odinaka and the princess were still confused, but Nai told them not to worry, as the truth would soon come to light. She told the princess to go to Ezafor, the water of justice, to get her healing. She was to tie a white wrapper on her body and go dip herself into the river 7 times. If she was innocent and did not deserve the affliction, then Ezafor would heal her and return the affliction permanently to the evildoer with double consequences. The princess and Odinaka thanked his grandmother and they left. They went to get a white cloth immediately, and the princess went to the river to do as she was told. When she came out to meet Odinaka, who was waiting for her at a distance, she looked at him with hope in her eyes. He held her and told her that it was settled. They both went back to the palace and met Ebere with her husband-to-be. Their marriage would be taking place the next day, and the young man had come to ensure that everything was already set in place. Odinaka and the princess went and greeted them while wishing them well in their journey of love. As they were talking, a bad fart smell filled the atmosphere, and they all looked at the princess, who was embarrassed. She apologized to them and wanted to leave when all of a sudden another fart was released. This time it was very loud and came from Ebere's side. They were all surprised and looked at Ebere. Ebere too was shocked and wondered what just happened. Before anyone could say Jack, Ebere released a long series of loud, horrible farts that smelled like a rotten rat who ate a rotten egg before it died. Everyone had to shift back with their hands on their noses. Even Ebere could not bear the smell, and she covered her nose too. Everyone was shocked and looked disgusted at Ebere, but Ebere was frantic at this time and pointed at Princess Ugoma. "What did you do? You were the one who usually fed." Odinaka remembered what his grandmother had said about the enemy within, and immediately shouted at Ebere to confess, if not she would die. Ebere tried to pretend like she did not know what Odinaka was talking about, but with the way series of loud farts were coming out of her, she could not deny anything, and so she confessed. "It's the work of the devil. Please, I didn't know what came over me. Since childhood I had always been jealous of the princess because she attracts all attention to herself. I have eaten my jealousy all these years and pretended like I was not bothered. It was when she snatched Ifeanyi Chukwu from me that I could not bear it anymore." Princess Ugoma was surprised. "Ifeanyi Chukwu? Which Ifeanyi Chukwu? Like which prince?" Ebere continued. "I saw Prince Odinaka Chukwu before you. He smiled at me and was going to talk to me when you suddenly came out, and then he became drawn to you. I was angry that you snatched him from me, and then I went to meet a powerful native doctor to inflict you with something that would scare away all the men from you. It was supposed to be permanent. I don't know how you got your healing. Please, I am very sorry. I allowed my jealousy overtake me." Odinaka held Princess Ugoma, who was crying at this point. The young man who was supposed to marry Ebere spat out in disgust at her. "I didn't know you were this evil. Thank God for saving me from your evil claws. I don't want to ever see you again in my life. It is over between us." He thundered and stormed out of the compound. Ebere fell on her knees and begged him to forgive her, but it was futile. She then turned to Princess Ugoma to beg for forgiveness, but Odinaka blocked her and took the princess inside. When the king heard of what happened, he was very livid and blamed himself for opening his doors wide to a beast whom he treated like a daughter. He threw Ebere out of the palace and banished her from the village. Ebere's affliction was worse that even if she was standing with a fellow woman, she would release the horribly smelling farts. As a result, she could not live with anyone, no matter where she went to, and so she continued to wander about endlessly. Princess Ugoma and Odinaka soon fell in love and later got married. The king and queen blessed their union, and they lived together happily.